Everyone, thank you so much for joining us for our last webinar in the Beauty Business webinar series. It's great to see all of you here. I can see lots of people on the call already, so thank you for getting here early. My name is Lorraine Dahlmeyer. I hope that you know who I am by now if you've attended the other webinars that we've done up until now. I'm the director of Formula Botanica. We're the world's leading online organic cosmetic science school. You can see us up there. And so I think there's a bit of feedback actually, Jaya. Do you want to just turn your audio off for a second? There you go. And so we've been doing this Beauty Business webinar series over the last 3 months. We've had guest speakers from all over the world, which has been fantastic. And we've been talking about all sorts of aspects to do with running your beauty business. We've looked at how to have influence, how to look at cosmetic compliance for essential oils. We've looked at choosing, creating skin products for the right skin type. We've done all sorts of different topics. So I hope you've been able to join us for those, and I hope that you've enjoyed them throughout the whole series. Great, everyone's chatting in the chat box now, so great to see you here. So this is the last one for 2015, and we will be back next year with another series of webinars, which I'm planning at the moment and lining up a whole series of guest speakers for you. But after this one, I'm going to have a break for a few weeks because obviously we've been churning out webinar after webinar. So tonight, we've got Jaya Savannah with us, which is really exciting because she's going to be talking about how to find your niche or niche in natural skincare. So you want to stay on for the whole webinar. It's going to be really exciting. This is a really important topic because you don't want to be everything to everyone when you first start out. And that's one thing that a lot of skincare entrepreneurs, a lot of beauty entrepreneurs tend to do. They create a range for every single different skin type. Often they want to create a range for men, for women, for all sorts of different age ranges. So tonight we're going to talk about how to really niche down what it is you do. So I'm going to hand over to Jaya in a minute, and she's going to introduce herself properly. Just a little bit of housekeeping. We're going to be answering questions at the end of the webinar, if we have enough time, and hopefully we will. There's a question mark box at the top of your screen, which you can click on, and you can type your questions in there, and I'll be reading those. There's also a chat box, which some of you are already chatting in. Hi, great to see all of you. So yeah, chat to us throughout the webinar. If you have any questions, you know, if you want to chat to the other people on the call, then you can use that. There will be a replay. I'm going to send it out tomorrow. It's going to be time limited, so you'll have a week to watch it. And then obviously we take it down. But we do make all of our webinar replays available to all Formula Botanica students as part of their online library. And there will be a very special offer at the end, which you don't want to miss. So, on that note, I'm now going to hand over to Jaya, who's going to introduce herself properly and talk to you about how to find your niche in natural skincare. I will be back at the end, and I'm handing over to you now. Here you go. Is your audio on? Okay, you're live now, Jaya. Can you hear me, Jaya? Jaya, we're live now. I'm just typing to her. Turn your audio on. Can you hear me, Jaya?
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm so glad to have you here. And I've got some great content for you today. We're really going to dive in deep about how to create a niche for your product line or your business in general. It's so important to be able to stand out. Just want to check. Can you hear me? Everybody can hear me okay? Okay, great. So before I get into going through a proper slideshow, okay, and giving you some skills, I want to take a moment and tell you my niche story because it was something that really impacted my life quite dramatically. So before I had a niche, I'm going to roll back the clock to about 2003. And at that time, I was already a certified life coach, and I had been in business as a solo practitioner before that, teaching intuitive development and you know, doing some personal coaching work. But in 2003, I had gotten my certification, and I was really stepping up my game. And so I started to do some more advertising and things to kind of grow my business. And now, 2003 was a year before there was Google. I know it's hard for some of you people to imagine a life before Google, but Google didn't launch until August 2004. And so back then, if you were a practitioner of some kind of holistic modality, the way to get new clients was to advertise in one of those practitioner directory kind of magazines that they would have at the newsstands. Yes, back in the days of newspaper. And so I would get those practitioner directories, and I would write up my best, most heartfelt ad that I could. And my ad copy was really sincere. It tried to describe the work that I did with people, but it was also really, really vague. I kind of cringe a little bit when I think back on it now. And it was all things like, find your true purpose, know your higher self, all these coachy kind of things. And so I would, pay to do my ad, and sometimes they would ask me to write for them, write little articles. And then when it would come out, I would get that directory and I would look in it to see how my ad looked, on the page compared with everybody else. And it was just kind of crushing because, I didn't have a big budget, and so I had my, kind of little small ad, and it would be positioned on a page with all these other practitioners who were saying basically the same thing. Know your true self, find your higher purpose, right? So we all were saying the same thing. Nothing really stood out that way. And the only difference was that everybody else had seemingly a bigger budget than me, or more experience than me, or more something else than me. And so I would look at this thing, and instead of feeling really good about my ad, I just felt kind of crappy. And I remember there was like a turning point for me. And one day, it was maybe my fourth run, on advertising these things, and I looked at my ad, and I just realized, you know what, this is just bringing me down. This is just making me feel bad, and I wasn't really getting a lot of new business, from it, just a little trickle. And so I remember taking that magazine and just throwing it down on the table and saying, that's it. I'm never looking at another one of these again. And that was really where I just walked away from that, and I wasn't even going to advertise anymore until I could figure out who I was and how to make myself stand out, and how to find my unique calling. And that moment was the turning point, because after that, I started to look into the idea of unique selling propositions and differentiation, and then I heard the word niche, and I didn't even know what a niche was before that. So this was all very new for me, and that set me off on the journey of trying to find out what my niche was. And I worked with a couple different coaches. I did a lot of self-inquiry, and really the breakthrough came when I was, looking at what I was good at in my work, and I had a couple different audiences I served. I did a lot of kind of spiritual coaching for business people. They were like executives coming out of Silicon Valley and whatnot, and they were wanting to find their meditation and their inner core. And I also did a lot of business work for more holistic type people. And so I'm a good bridge in between those two. I knew that. But I was looking at, what about all the experience of my past? I had always been in holistic health and beauty since I was really out of high school. I went and started with my esthetician's license. And I had a lot of experience that wasn't playing into the work that I was doing at that time. I had salon management experience. I had experience managing aromatherapy stores. I had a lot of training experience from working with practitioners in the salon and training the retail people, how to sell things like essential oils. I had like all this practical experience that wasn't getting played out into my business, and I realized that the golden thread for me was to take everything I had done and weave it in. Okay, that's what I call like a golden thread experience. You find what weaves together all of your different experiences, and that is when it was like a light bulb went off for me, and I realized I should be doing business coaching for holistic practitioners, because I had the practical side of operations and how to run the business, and yet I had all the life coaching and the spiritual coaching and the vision work that I have to be able to help those people heal more people. Okay, and so it just opened up everything. I kind of came up with a niche statement for myself, which is something I'm going to guide you to do today. My niche statement is really, really short. I like that it's short. It's 4 words, and I call myself a strategy coach for holistic businesses. And that kind of combines in just 4 short words my style of work, what I do, who I work for. And I'm going to guide you to creating a niche statement in the class today. So that's my personal experience. Everything changed after that. Doors opened, clients came in, I had a new focus, I knew who I should be advertising to. I was no longer kind of split in different directions. When I went to create an ad, I knew exactly who I was creating that ad for. I knew what they wanted, and I knew the things that I could deliver to them. So if I could only pick one thing in my business, which I think is the most important thing I do, is got to be niche work. So I'm really excited to show you some of what I know. I'm going to take you as deep as I can in the time that we have, and I'm going to give you some worksheets and things that you can download later so that you can actually do the exercises. All right? So let's dig into the content here. One second. Where is my... Sorry, I got to find my presentation. One second.
Okay, Jaya.
Yeah, my Google Hangout isn't showing my presentation as an option like it was earlier. There it is. It just had to sync up for a second.
Cool.
Here we go. Okay, can you see that?
Yeah, that looks great.
Okay, awesome. So welcome to Delicious Niches in Natural Skincare. So our goal today is I want to help you go from being a bland brand to having something that's really yummy and that will keep your customers coming back for more. So I want to position what we're going to talk about today in terms of the opportunity that you have as natural skincare makers or as kind of holistic estheticians. If you do a mix of services and products, you have never in your entire life or in the history of business has there been a better time to be in this realm of natural skincare. It is absolutely astonishing, and I'll give you a couple quick facts here. I was looking at a report from the Organic Trade Association, their 2015 report. And they said that sales of organic food and non-food products in the United States broke through another record in 2014, totaling $39.1 billion, and that was up 11.3% from the previous year. 11.3% is, oh, I got to note that the video stopped. I hope it's okay. You guys put a chat in there if you can't see it. Okay. 11.3% is a huge gain, and organic sales now near a milestone 5% share of the total food market. Okay, so it is just going up, 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 and food sales are kind of leading the way for people to have an awareness change of not just what goes in their body, but what goes on their body. Okay, so the opportunity is huge. There'll be handouts. Someone says they can't see the screen. There will be handouts that you can get that will have that note. Okay, a couple more little numbers for you. The global market for natural skincare products is projected to grow from approximately $8.2 billion in 2013 to approximately $15.98 billion by the year 2020. So again, we're just experiencing huge growth, and we'll continue to see that. So that's, again, it's a range of about 9 to 10% growth total across Asia, Europe, and North America. And just to give you a comparison, I remember reading some stats that, for example, conventional food and beauty products are more like a 5% growth. Okay, so we're seeing about double the rate of growth for natural as we are for conventional. Now, I have some more stats. I'm not a huge numbers person, but I did do a lot of research, and I ended up creating a free report for you that you can get with the worksheets from this class when you go to jayasavannah.com/DNNS. You don't need to do that now. I'll remind you again at the end of the webinar, but I did pull some of those numbers up for you. I thought since I was reading them, you might like to see what I was reading, and I give you all the links and everything. Now, the business opportunity is huge, but I think what is really more exciting in some ways is the lifestyle opportunity you have for you. I mean, you have a potential business that is something that feels very, very fulfilling, okay? There are people that are killing themselves in jobs that they hate, and here you get to work with these delicious ingredients, and you get to use your creativity and artistry and, chemistry, and, you create things that have an end purpose of making people feel great, okay, and that is so rewarding. I mean, this is really a fantastic business. It also is something that can fit in with a family life. You can work from home if you want to, or you can grow it as big as you want to. You've got so many opportunities to really create the lifestyle of your dreams in natural skincare. However, one thing is always true, that whenever there are new opportunities emerging, they also are going to bring with it new challenges. So we talked about, the explosive growth in natural skincare. Well, that also creates an explosive amount of competition. Okay, so you didn't used to have to compete against the big companies, for example, right? It was only the indie brands that even really had the natural products, and now you see, Clorox Corporation and a lot of these big ones, they're trying to even bring in natural things. So the challenge you have is to make yourself stand out in this increasingly busy space. So, years ago, it used to be enough of a niche just to call yourself natural, okay, and that's really changed. And now natural is not a niche, okay. I want to make sure you really have that clear. Describing your products as natural is not a niche. There's more to it, and I'm going to cover exactly what else goes into it today. First, I want to clear up something that is usually a bit of confusion. And I want to talk about how do you pronounce the word niche. And what's really great about this is you'll get different answers depending on who you talk to. So, show of hands, how many of you pronounce it niche? That's probably the most common, would be niche. And how many of you would pronounce it niche? It almost sounds a little bit more French that way, right? Niche. And how many of you would pronounce it as niche? Well, the good news here is you are all right. If you go to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, you'll find out that all three pronunciations are correct. So there's no wrong way to do it, and it's really kind of a regional thing, honestly. It depends. Even in America, you'll hear all the different ones. So I usually say niche, but quite honestly, I think I probably sometimes say niche too. All right, so everybody wins. You get an A+, doesn't matter. All right. Let's define what a niche is. So a niche is when you narrow your range of products and services to a specialized market. Okay, so we're not going to be trying to sell our products to everyone. We want to focus on a specialized market. Okay, so a big part of this is going to be the target market, and we're going to dive into that. Now, when I was first doing my own niche work, I probably hit every roadblock, stumbling block, negative belief there is. Okay, so I personally had to work through my stuff to get niched. And in the 11 years since, I've worked quite a few clients through this process as well. And if I had to narrow down, kind of what are the three biggest myths that get in the way of people, jumping in and getting their niche cleared up, these are going to be the three. Myth number one, your line should include something for everybody. That, in theory, sounds great, but there are some major downsides to that. The truth is that bigger lines are more expensive and harder to market. Okay, so there's kind of like two parts to that. So when you have a bigger line, you've got bigger investment into product costs, packaging costs. If you're in the European Union, where you have to do product testing And Lorena told me that costs $400 to $500 or up to $600 per product. Okay, so to have a great big line is going to cost you a ton of money. And the reason I say that they're also harder to market is that you have this problem of who are you advertising to. If you're trying to just advertise to everybody, it's just really, really hard to stand out. Myth number 2 is that you will lose business if you niche your brand. So this comes up probably really common where people might have more than one target audience, or they do 2 different things, and they're afraid if they let go of part of it that they're going to lose business. But the reality is, after you're niched, you just have to take my word for it on this one. After you are niched, you will actually attract more customers, but also more loyal customers, okay? Because you're going to be serving those niche customers at a much higher level, okay? And they can be fiercely loyal when you really got your niche just right, because they can't just go to anybody else and get what it is that you do. And another really cool thing that happens after you're niched is that you will attract more referrals. So when you're clearly niched, people are more likely to tell others about you, okay, because you're special. And that's how you get that really great word of mouth advertising. Okay, the third biggest niche is that your niche is your target market. For example, women over 40 years old. The answer is that part of that is true, that it is your target market, but that's still too broad, okay? It's not just your target market. It also includes things like, what are the problems that those people have? And really importantly, what is your approach to solving those problems, okay? And these are exactly what we're going to cover today. So I'm going to cover how to cook up your niche, okay? I'm going to give you like the building blocks here that will help you work this out. Now, one important concept is the idea of what I call right-sizing your niche, okay? So, we talk about the idea of having no niche, and that's like trying to serve everybody, right? You're trying to serve too many people, and you end up serving no one. And when you get it just the right size, you're serving, less people, but it's more focused, okay? So the right size niche is small enough to make you stand out, and it's big enough that you can make a viable business out of it. Okay, so one more time I want to repeat this, is so important. The right size niche is small enough to make you stand out, and yet it's big enough that you can make a viable business out of it. Okay, so if you niche down so far that there's no customers, you're gonna struggle. And if you niche too big, you're gonna have that vagueness. Okay, so you want to right size your niche. Okay, now this is the most important part of the class today, and we're going to cover this in the handouts, and I'm going to kind of repeat it a few times. There are 3 main ingredients for a delicious niche. Okay, I'm going to cover this like a recipe today. The first part is what you do. The second part is who you serve. And the third part is how you work. Okay, it's sort of like a what, who, and how. Okay? And there's a secret ingredient besides those 3, and the secret ingredient is love. Okay? You must absolutely fall in love with every part of your niche. Okay? So later when you're doing the homework from this class, and I'm going to have you do some brainstorming exercises, I want you to only really incorporate things that you love. You got to love the people you're with. You got to love what it is that you do, and you got to love the style and the way that you deliver it. Okay, just make sure it's something you absolutely love. You'll get those goosebumps when it's right. All right, let's go a little bit deeper into defining the what you do part. So what you do is going to be the things that you are good at. Okay, and it's very important that it's something that you love learning. If you're going to go create your niche, you're really, in many ways, planning out what it is you're going to be doing for the next few years, maybe even the next few decades, all right? And you have to have something that is really interesting to you, okay? If it's just a superficial interest, you're going to get bored with it, and your niche won't really have the longevity. So you want to do things that you're good at, that you love, and that you love learning about, all right? And part of that includes the outcomes you create. So, is your brand, for example, more about solving certain, well, actually, I'm going to lead over to the next column here. The problems you solve. Is your brand about solving certain physical conditions? Okay, is there a certain, maybe you have a lot of people start their business this way. They have some kind of a health concern themselves, like think of eczema or rosacea or, some of these conditions which can be tricky to treat. A lot of people actually enter the business that way. They're focusing on a physical condition that they had to treat for themselves, and they create a product line that is geared towards that, yes? Another just equally valid type of problems you might solve for people, though, are mental conditions. Okay, stress is huge, right? So this is where we have a huge need for relaxing products, stress relief, energizing, anything that's mental or emotional. Okay, these are also very important problems you solve, and you can make really good money making people feel better. So when you work out what you do, it's part of it is about you and what you love to do, and the other part of it is about what you can do for other people. Okay. I do want to kind of give you a little extra tidbit on the problems you solve part, and this is very important. So when you're doing your homework, this will be the guidepost that you want to run your what you do by. Problems you solve need to be 3 things. Things that can be described clearly, things that people are willing to pay for, and that people are searching the internet for. Okay, it's always, always better to try to solve problems that people are already having and looking for solutions. And in fact, some people, it's very, very tempting to want to build part of what you do around the positive results, because you want to be a positive person and you don't want to describe problems. In fact, that was one of the big mistakes I made. Remember, going back to my story in 2003 when I was, working at advertising my life coaching business, it was all positive terms, because that's where I was coming from. Know your true self, find your purpose, right? All these great things. Nobody searches the internet for that. Okay, people search for problems, and we are now, since Google did come into play since 2004, now we are very problem-based in searching. It does not mean you are not a positive person. Okay, so do think about problems and solving them for people. You will find a lot more money when you do it that way. Okay, next section, who you serve. So this is also called target market. You might be familiar with that term. So I like to call it who you serve, because target market is a little bit like you're hunting people. And well, this goes back to wanting to be more positive, I guess. I don't really want you to hunt people. I think it's better to serve people. So I call this who you serve. So there's 2 parts to this. One is identifying who you serve by looking at demographic information. And demographic are those sort of hard, objective facts about us that would include things like age range, gender, lifestyle. Now, lifestyle in a demographic sense means things like, are they married? Have they attended college? Are they single? Or, all these kind of things. And very importantly, things that are demographic information can be ad targeted. How many of you are doing Facebook ads? We have a lot of Facebook ad users. Facebook ad targeting is phenomenal for demographic information. You can type in any specific demographics that you want to target your ads to and just nail it, because they have so much information on us. Kind of spooky, actually, how much information they have on us. But so knowing your demographics will really help you succeed there. Now, the other part, which is less objective than the facts, right? The government and Facebook can figure out our demographics. The more subjective or softer part is the personality types of who you serve. Okay, so what kind of people are going to be attracted to what you do? So what are they interested in? For example, it would be pretty much a requirement that an interest for your demographic would be people that value natural skincare products. Okay, if they're not into that, or they don't believe in natural, or they don't value caring for their skin, they're not going to be a good target market for you. Yes, makes sense. You only want to try to sell to people that are going to be interested in you. Values. Now, values is very, very important when you look at a natural type business, because so much of what we do is centered around, ecology, for example. We have ecological values. You can look at holistic health versus, say, Western health. You're going to be targeting people that value those things. Maybe your business has a really strong green or sustainability element to it. Okay, you can really play that up and find the people that value that. And then the last part of personality is style. And what I mean by that is things like, is someone more conservative, or are they maybe like a hipster, right? There's, we all have different style, punk style, hippie style, bohemian, okay, right? We all have our style, and that's part of it too. So who you serve is really taking a deep look at the demographics and personality type of who is your ideal client. Now, this is again sort of a guidepost checklist when you go to really finalize the who you serve part of your niche, and that is that they must have these three things. One, they must want what you do, need what you do, and be able to afford what you do. And I can't tell you how many times this guidepost has saved my butt when I was trying to do my own marketing. Some of you are probably a lot like me, where you want to save the world, and you would love nothing better than to be able to work for free and give your products away for free. And it can be really tempting to want to try to reach people that don't usually be able to afford what it is that you do. And you have to be sensible here. You have to be sensible. You can do free things for people that can't afford it, or have a charity part to your mix. I mean, I do a lot of free things. This webinar is free because I know not everybody can afford it, but you always have to look at your targeting to make sure people want, need, and afford what you do. Okay. All right. Next section, how you work. So how you work is your methods, okay? So in the case of skincare product makers, do you use special ingredients, okay, that sets you apart? Or do you have a specific philosophy of care? For example, there might be, let's say, any certain skin condition. Well, you can talk to 10 different practitioners or skincare makers, and they're all going to maybe take a different approach to solving that problem. Okay? So part of what makes you unique is your philosophy of care. Okay, how do you think it works? How do you get those results? What is it that you believe? Another part of how you work might be even a trademarked system. So maybe you trademark the sequence of products that you use, or how your whole product line works. Okay, the other part of that is your style. So that would include things like your branding style. Again, going back to the idea of personal style, is your brand style, is it edgy? Is it traditional? Is it very sweet? Is it very bold? Okay, so your brand style is a big part of your message. Also things like your packaging options. And another way to express unique style is maybe your brand is very personality-based or very story-based. So to give you an example of that, if you were, kind of going back to our example of people that have overcome health conditions, and that was sort of how they even got into holistic healing, and then maybe into creating a product line, your story about how you got into the business may be a major thing behind your brand, okay? And in fact, you may be the brand of your company, right? Maybe even your products are named after you, okay? So you might have a personality or a story-based brand. Another part about style, which I think is very important to look at, is your style and approach very traditional? In other words, do you look back at the ancient traditions of how products should be used and what ingredients should be put together, and follow kind of a traditional path, maybe even an ancient path going back hundreds or thousands of years? Are you a traditionalist, or are you more unique? Do you have a more eclectic style? Okay, so customers are gonna choose you based on this too. Some people value traditional, and some people like eclectic. Maybe your story is that you did a bunch of things in the kitchen sink and you threw them together and you found this genius thing that worked. Okay, so maybe your style is more unique. These are all part of your how. the way that you deliver results. So a little bit of a guidepost, again, on how you work is a marketing word called differentiation. And differentiation is making a product more attractive by contrasting its unique qualities with other competing products. So, you know, when you're first working out your how and the unique ways that you work, okay, you're going to just describe it, you know, in the positive sense. You know, why are you unique? What makes you special? What's your style? Okay, these are all these nice ways of describing what you do. Differentiation is where you also create a list of how are you different from the other choices that people have. Okay, so you know it's not usually. This is something we might get into in the notes. Lorraine and I were talking about this online the other day. We don't want to disrespect and put down the other companies or people that we're, you know, differentiating ourselves from. But you do want to find ways of differentiating things like your philosophy or your methods. Okay, so maybe other lines have a lot of steps, and your line's very simple. Maybe you have 3 products that take the place of 10, or other way around. Maybe your line is all very custom. You know, find what makes you different. Very important to be able to explain that to people. All right, you guys all with me? Everybody hanging in there? So we're going to go over now about what do you do with those 3 things, okay? So the who, the what, and the how. We've just covered what they are, and this is going to be your homework assignment. I'm going to kind of give it to you early, all right? I'm going to go over it here, and there is going to be a replay available, so you can actually download the handouts and do the homework while you're watching the replay. If you're smart, that's what you'll do. And the first thing you're going to do is you'll brainstorm a list of the different niche ingredients. And so, you know, you're going to work out what you do, who you serve, and how you work. Okay, so basically, like how I usually do that is like 3 columns on a piece of paper, and just brain dump and let it fly. Just let it come off your head. All the different things you do. Okay. And again, I'm just giving you a reminder, in case you joined us late, you can get the free worksheets and some of these slides too, so you can reference what I'm saying at jayasavannah.com/DNNS. You don't need to jump off the call to go get those now, but that's where they'll be for you later. So after you've done like a really good brain dump of putting things in all 3 of those columns, and you're going to, you know, kind of choose your favorites, and that's the part where we talk about love being the 4th ingredient. You're going to circle the ones you love and kind of find your favorites. Then what you want to do is kind of put those 3 ingredients together in what's called a niche statement. And I want to kind of define what a niche statement is. And my definition might be different than other people's. To me, it's a simple description of your niche. Okay, there's no real right or wrong way to do your niche statement, but I have a strong opinion. Okay, so here's the looser sense. Some people take their niche statement, and it might even be 1 to 3 sentences. Okay, it could be pretty long and have, you know, very beautiful language and you know, kind of really describe in detail your exact person and exactly what you do and how you do it. And that can be lovely, but I don't recommend it. And the reason, well, there's several reasons why I don't recommend that. I think shorter is better because you will use it 10,000 times more often. I mean, I was really proud of myself when I actually got mine down to 4 words. I'm kind of a verbose person, especially when it comes to writing. Okay, so editing's hard for me. I tend to write too much and I use too many words. And when I got mine down to a 4-word, basically like a title, you know, strategic coaching for holistic businesses, I mean, that was the home run for me. And for 11 years now, what I have found by having a really short one like that is I can get it onto any social media account. I can verbally say it to someone. If you have a 3-sentence like elevator speech type thing, you're not ever going to say it to anybody. I hate that elevator speech thing because nobody ever uses it. It sounds really good when you write it, but it's just awkward and kind of weird to say in person. I think it's totally better to have something nice and short that you can, use again and again, and people can get who you are at a glance. So I vote for a short version, but you're going to have to go through this process when you write it and get it the way you like it. Okay, it's got to make your socks roll up and down. You got to love it. I'm going to give you a few fictitious examples here, just so you have something to reference of what a niche statement might be. These are all just made up. I actually checked, and these are not trademarked, so have at it, although you can send me a check if you use one. Okay, example 1. Running Buddha Body Care utilizes traditional Chinese herbs to help athletes recover faster from intense workouts. Okay, so let's see if we can find the what, the who, and the how in there, okay? So the what is body care to recover faster from workouts. Okay, so that's what they're doing. They're helping people recover faster. Now, who's that for? It's for athletes who work out, and this is key, intensely, right? People that get sore. Not just any athlete, right? But it's recover faster from intense workouts. So the thing about having a nice short niche statement is every word in that sentence has a job. Okay, so intense is a very important part of the who. And their how is traditional Chinese herbs, and we don't have actual packaging for them, but I would say Running Buddha kind of lends itself to a playful sort of brand. All right, let's do another one. Dr. Ambre Metaesthetics is for women who want to prolong their cosmetic treatment results. Okay, so who is this for? And what is it? Okay, so this would be more of a clinical type approach. Okay, so this is post-cosmetic treatment skincare. This is for someone that likes to go get cosmetic treatments. Okay, it's a very specific result, and that's the women that it's for. And also, this is someone that wants result-based products. Okay, that word results, that is code for people that want some kind of a visible effect. And the how here is it's a clinical approach, okay? And even in the name, right, we've got the doctor's name in the brand. It's got that doctor's stamp of approval. Okay, so that's a very, kind of medical clinical niche. Okay, another one here. Ankle Biters Baby Balm will keep your rock star baby's bottom dry on the road. All right, so what comes to mind even with this here? Can you see how we don't have a package in front of us, but even from the name, do you start to get an idea just from those words in that statement, who is this for and what is it? Well, we know that it's a balm to keep babies' bottoms dry, all right? Well, who's that going to be for? Something called Ankle Biters as a brand. That's, kind of a derogatory term really for kids. That's edgy, okay? So this is going to be for babies who's got moms, or I should say parents really, who are hip, punk, non-traditional, okay? And the how here would be a brand that is hip and punk, okay? And in fact, maybe even this brand has got a brand story from a rock star mom who had to take her baby on the road and she needed some healthy products, okay? All right, a couple more. La Camille Biodynamic Beauty Care brings harmony to your sensitive skin no matter what season of life you are in. Okay, so can you tell from this to start to conjure up an image, all right? We're using language to express the niche. So the what is natural beauty products for sensitive skin. And the who is women with sensitive skin, but this is also more of a values-based brand. I mentioned that earlier, okay? This is women who value sustainability, okay? They're going to know what biodynamic is, actually, right? If you try to sell this product line to people that are not into sustainability, they are not going to know what biodynamic is. Okay, I know most of you on the call probably do. We're in the minority as far as that goes. And the how is by biodynamically farmed ingredients. And this would be, kind of in the realm of ultra holistic, right? Again, very values-based kind of branding. All right, one more. Salty Dog Daily Skin and Beard Care is for modern men who want to brave the elements and still look healthy, not weathered. Okay, so here again, we're using words and language to conjure up, kind of a theme, right? A niche theme. So the what here is men's protective skin and beard care. Okay, I'm putting emphasis on the word protective here. And this is for men who are outside a lot, but also identify as modern. Okay, I really put that in there because this would be really kind of perfect for kind of a hipster type branding, right? Retro modern style, or like what I like to call is traditional with a twist, right? And there is a huge up and coming audience, especially with the beard care, as you know. Okay, so those are 5 examples that will be in the handouts just to kind of remind you, how long a niche statement might be, give you some food for thought, okay? But what you want to do next is come up with your niche statement. So remember, it's about 1/3 of it is what you do, 1/3 is who you serve, 1/3 is how you work, okay? And then, put in lots of love and you mix it until it's delicious. Now, having gone through this process myself, and I still actually go through this every time I create a product or a program, by the way. This niche work is not one and done. I mean, mine has served me really well. I've had it for 11 years, and because I nailed my life purpose basically inside it. But you will find often that you may change your niche, you'll outgrow it, you'll want to change it over time. Really, really common. A lot of the people I work with are phasing into being more holistic. They're not quite all in yet, and they want to make that change. So re-niching, or what I call, switching your niche, it is a process. So when I say simmer until done, it takes everybody a little different amount of time to really get it right, okay? But I really suggest you jump on this after the call while it's still fresh in your mind. Now, I do have one shortcut, because that simmer work can take time. I have a shortcut that will work for some of you. And just like one of those quick cooking recipe shows, a big part of your success with this is going to depend on what you already have in your cabinets, okay? So you've got to already have a brand, basically, and some products going to use this quick cooking technique. But it might work for some of you, or it can be a good thing to try out to see if you want to switch your niche. So what you can do as a shortcut is to identify your best-selling product and niche around that. So in other words, niche around what is already working for you. So, do you have a product that is especially remarkable? Is it either your highest sales, or maybe it's just your favorite? Usually, I gotta tell you, because I've taught retail classes for so many years, oftentimes the best seller is really just whoever's selling it is their favorite, and that's why it sells the best. But look at your best-selling product and see if we can reverse engineer its niche. Okay, so just focusing on that product, what are its niche attributes? Okay, so suggest you kind of work it out. So what does that best-selling product do? Who does it serve? How does it work? All right, so instead of getting overwhelmed and looking at your whole product line or your whole business, just look at this one product and consider, do you want to take that niche product, and even doing this exercise will even help you sell more of that product. Your marketing will be a lot better for it. But even, taking it further, do you want to take that niche product and turn it into your brand and start to line up everything around that? Again, when you have that niche all lined up, it just becomes so much easier. You know who you're targeting, you know what to say, you know what benefits to promote. And if you already have, kind of a hot product, you're on your way to making a niche. I think that's a great shortcut for those of you that already have something going. So just another reminder, you can get the free worksheets from what I discussed here. You can do this certainly on binder paper, but I've created nice worksheets for you. Download, and copies of those most important slides, like the ones with the niche statements as examples. And I created a bonus report for you, even with some some financial data, more financial data than I covered at the beginning of this class. If you go to jayasavannah.com/DNNS, and when you join my list, you'll get those goodies. You'll also get my newest videos and any invitations to future classes that I might have. Now, you are able to take what I gave you today and DIY your own niche. You know, basically the process I gave you today is a lot of the process I did on my own. But having taken a lot of clients through it at this point, I do have some more in-depth things I do, which, you know, you just can't quite get on your own. It's hard to have that objectivity, really. You know, it's like you're so deeply in it that it can be hard to do it on your own. So for some of you, it might be a better option to book a private VIP niche day with me, and that's where, you know, we'll meet by Skype or phone, and we're going to spend basically a day together, and we're going to get your niche done together. And in that point, I can really, you know, help pull out of you and, you know, find that golden thread. You know, like I said to you, that one of the things that was really key for me was tying together all my past experiences and weaving them into my new niche, right? So we can do that deeper work together, but that takes a day. I can't give that to you in an hour call. Unfortunately, I would if I would do it, if I could. So if you would like more information about that, you can just send me an email. I'm Jaya Savannah. My email is jaya@jayasavannah.com, and I can tell you more about that. So that is the end of the class. Let's do some Q&A now. I want to hear your questions and give you some answers.
Cool. So. Excellent. Can you hear me, Jaya?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Do you want to put your headphones on, and then
there we go.
We won't have any audio issues, hopefully. Thank you so much. What a fantastic presentation. I hope that was useful for everyone. I found that really interesting. So remember what you do, who you serve, how you do it, and once you put those three things together, you have the perfect recipe for finding your niche. Niche, not a niche.
Or niche.
So we've had lots of questions, and we've got about 10 minutes, so let's jump straight in. The first one we got came from Emma. She said, I really struggle with trying to find my target market. I understand about identifying their age, their gender, but when I want to go deeper, such as, you know, what do they read? Are they married? What sort of clothes do they wear? It confuses me so much. And how would I know these details? Do I just guess? What do you think?
Oh, that's a great question. I love the idea of asking those questions. The most important sort of other questions like that to ask are things that are going to help you locate them, actually. So, for example, really good questions to ask are, where do they shop? So if you know, like, do they shop? Here, you have to excuse me because I'm in the States. I don't know all the other countries' groceries, but here we have sort of the major natural food stores, Whole Foods. You know, do they shop at Whole Foods, or do they shop at the commercial store? You know, these kind of things tell you their purchase habits. So where they shop is a good one. Another important one is what kind of media do they read? So because this tells you what kind of other commercials they're used to hearing and what style they like. For example, if you look at women's magazines, so you know, that tells you a lot about what is the media that they like. You know, like, for example, there's a big difference between like a Vogue magazine reader and like maybe like a Oprah magazine reader. Okay, they're kind of like the Oprah stuff is more focused on the inner part, and the Vogue is more about your outer part. Those kind of distinctions are important, okay, because it shows you what kind of media they consume and what other products they're used to seeing. Now, how do you find that information? I personally really like to survey people. So I don't know how big your email list is, but I just straight up like to ask people, and I use Facebook a lot to ask people, you know, well, do you guys like this or do you like that? And people will tell you. People like to talk about themselves, so that's absolutely a given. The third way you could get some of that information is to try to find a competing product and look at where they're advertising and looking at what they're doing, where they're visible. That might also give you some insights.
Cool.
Does that help?
Okay. Yes, brilliant. Yes, you do have to ask people, and you're right. People do love talking about themselves. Question I like to ask people is, what do you do on a Sunday evening? And describe your typical Monday morning. And people come out with all sorts of information that you would never think of. So that's always quite useful. Okay, I've got a great question here from Priscilla in the Netherlands. Hi, Priscilla. She says, is a certain ethical and ecological philosophy, could that be part of your niche?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think people more and more they eat that up. Now, one thing, well, one thing you do have to look at is how polarizing do you want to be? So when you start to get into values and some philosophies, do you want to sort of gently take people by the hand and teach them and sort of indoctrinate them into your philosophies? Or do you want to just like come out and own it, right? And be polarizing and be radical? Neither one of those is right or wrong. They're both part of the branding, actually. So, you know, I think you can definitely, absolutely bring those in even as a brand story. There's even a lot of mainstream brands where the philosophy is part of it. So I think you absolutely can and should. And the other question is, you know, how do you want to do it? Nice and gentle, or, you know, maybe kind of in your face.
Cool. Okay, let's move on. We've got quite a few questions. We might have to run over a little bit just to cover a few extra ones. Claudia says, do you have to protect and trademark your logo and product packaging and logo when selling to the public? I know this is slightly different, but I suppose it ties in with your niche and, you know, making sure that you stand out from everyone else.
Well, I'm not a lawyer and won't even begin to answer it from that level, but I will tell you what I do know and what my philosophy about that is, yes, you should protect yourself, but before you do that, you want to go into things sort of thinking about how much money you want to spend towards protecting your things. It can get very expensive, and I think there's something to be said for trying your niche out a little bit first before you throw a lot of money at it. I mean, I see this all the time, actually, just, you know, doing the work that I do. Quite often people come to me after they've already been in business, they've already done their startup expenses, and then they realize they built a business they don't love. And so I help them switch their niche. And, you know, so we do that rebranding and everything. And then where we really want the money is we really want to put the money at protecting and building those things that are the joyful things. So don't throw too much money at it too soon, I guess, is my answer.
Okay. Yes, that makes good sense. I'm currently going through a trademark application in 31 countries around the world. You do not want this bureaucracy in your life, let me tell you.
I have one going, a new one. Yeah, exactly, and that's plenty.
Yeah. Okay, here's another one from Emma. She says, struggling to find my niche and target market because I'm not really solving a specific skincare issue. I mean, cosmetics don't really treat medicinal issues, of course, although we all know that realistically that's what most people get into skincare doing. She says, my packaging is creative and fun yet luxurious. Could that be a niche?
I think you're well on your way. I think you're well on your way. Now remember, some of the needs can be emotional and mental. I think you know what? I think that's a little bit vague from what we have now. What we would want to also bring into it is maybe what you would do here to kind of set yourself apart is, do you use specific ingredients maybe? Maybe there's something a little more tangible that can also set you apart besides fun and luxury. Because the fun and luxury part you can do in a brand with an empty bottle, right? That's really just branding stuff. But I think to really have that deeper, what is it that you do, you need to have something in the bottle that carries a purpose.
Okay, yes, that makes sense. Obviously, you need the content and not just the packaging. A couple of people have asked about your VIP sessions. How much do you charge for them?
They're $24.95, and we spend, you know, basically most of a day together. And I have a follow-up session scheduled in that. I do have a $600 fast-acting bonus for people that are ready to make a decision quickly. But the thing is, I would really want to talk with you first before we book this. That's why there's not just a sign-up form here. So send me an email, and then we can talk, because I want to make sure it's going to be the right thing for you.
No, that makes perfect sense. You always want to get to know someone first. Great question from Nikki in New Zealand. She says, "Hi Jai, great talk, thank you. I have a certified organic range. I've used it. It's gorgeous." And she says that I have women from who buy from me who are aged between 20 and 70 years old. How do I niche this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, certainly a lot of the products that you use aren't age-based. You know what? You can leave age off the table. Really, I think that's the thing. I mean, you could. The only time age is going to be super relevant is going to be if you're focusing on certain phases, right? Like teenage skin or anti-aging skin. In which case, you might do mini marketing campaigns. You have to realize too, you have your entire business niche. You can also still do mini marketing campaigns, or like the quick cooking niche technique I showed you, where you take a product and you kind of make a niche around that. So one way to test your niche actually might be for you to really take that exercise on and see which of your products might be the rising star. You know, and maybe you need. Or it could also be that you need to let some things go. Maybe your line is too big.
Okay. Okay, let's move on quickly. We've come to the end of the hour, but let's squeeze in a few more questions.
Okay.
Great question from Olivia. How do you feel about building a brand that's based on a fleeting niche that may not last, like style-based niches? And she's talking about hipsters, and there was a bit of a discussion going on in the chat box earlier about whether hipsters are a fleeting niche or not. So what do you think of that?
You know what? I was a punk rock kid in the early 80s, and no, really. And that's still here. So I think that it is here to stay. And fleeting niche is probably better for a marketing campaign than a brand. But you know what? There's a lot of people that do little indie brands. You can have multiple brands. It's just hard if you're trying to market them all together as one thing.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay, let's try and squeeze in two more. Let's see. I'm going to choose two great ones. Here's one from Kay. She says, "I make self-care products for people with food and chemical sensitivities. Do you think this is enough as a niche?"
Quite possibly. Quite possibly. I mean, you have the missing part is the styling part of it. You know, like I've met, gosh, where I live, it seems like there's a lot of people that are very aware of chemical sensitivity. And you know, some of them are very, I don't know if you know this word, it's very crunchy, kind of crunchy granola, you know, and then other people are actually much more kind of clinical approach. I think your branding would sway where that goes, but I'd say that's a pretty good niche. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the last one we're going to ask, because we have got to the end of our webinar, is from Callie, and Heather asked it as well. Callie's over in California. She says, should your niche be reflected in your mission and vision statements for your business and your brand?
Yes, and okay, a little bit of a mini quick rant. The mission and vision statements are almost always dust collecting things. Okay, so I kind of go back to the idea of shorter is better, and your niche statement is far more important than those things. Yes, it should be included as part of it, though.
Okay. All right, I'm going to squeeze one more in just because I can. Here's one from Alexandra. She says, if you rebrand and reposition your niche after being in business for a while, would you need to get rid of all your images and blog posts, etc., all the content that you've created if they don't serve your new audience?
You want to probably cull maybe a tiny bit, but I don't think you need to throw out everything. I mean, you have some Google love. I would kind of want to keep some of that Google rank. I don't know if I'd be burning blog posts. I think as far as the blog post question, actually, I think the best answer there is keep what you have and just bury it in great new content. That's probably what I would do. And what was the other part of that question?
Basically getting rid of all images and blog posts.
Yeah, images you get a rebrand. That's fun stuff. Yeah, update.
Cool.
Okay. Photo shoot.
Okay. Yes, exactly. Although I hope you don't cull all of it, Alexandra, because you've got such a fantastic website. Okay, right, we've come to the end of our webinar. So thank you very much to everyone who attended. I think we had over about 300 people come along today, so that's fantastic. And I hope that you found all of the information that Jaya provided very useful. I know I learned a lot from tonight as well, so thank you very much. There will be a replay It will be time limited for those of you who aren't Formula Botanica students, so it will be available for a week. I'm going to get that up tomorrow, so that will be in your inbox tomorrow. If it doesn't show up and you use Gmail, check your promotions tab, check your junk mail. It is the black hole of the email world, so just keep checking there. Yes, and we'll be back next year with another webinar series where we'll be inviting special guests from all over the world again who are going to be talking on a whole different range of topics to do with making cosmetics, selling cosmetics, running a beauty brand. So I hope you'll be able to join us for that. If you stay on the Formula Botanica mailing list, then you will be informed about that and you'll be the first to hear. I'm going to hand over to Jaya so she can say goodbye to all of you now.
All right, thank you everybody who attended today and participated. Thanks so much for being here, and yes, show me your niches. I'll see you in the Formula Botanica Facebook group. That's a great place to reach me. All right, signing off.
Yes. Cool, thank you. Yes, head on over to Skincare Entrepreneur Mastermind, which is our free group on Facebook, and you'll be able to talk to me there, talk to Jaya there, talk to lots of other skincare entrepreneurs there. So if you're not there already, come along and join us. And yes, thank you very much. We shall see you all soon. Remember to click on that link that we put up in the offer box, so you'll be able to go and get the worksheets and the some of the key slides from the presentation. But I'll be sending that out tomorrow as well. So thank you very much, and we'll see you in 2016. Bye.